What's up, folks? Today I'm in Matthews, North Carolina at the Matthews Heritage Museum, right in the heart of a town that's growing fast but still holding tight to its past. I had the opportunity to interview Bob Aycock, the museum's director, to talk about the rich history of Matthews and what it means to preserve that history as the community continues to change. All right, Mr. Aycock.
Yes, sir.
What's up, brother?
How's it going?
Good. Thank you for agreeing to participate in this episode for History Before Us. Obviously I live in Charlotte and there's so many outlying communities in Charlotte that were once deemed very rural.
Oh, yes.
And because of the growth of Charlotte, of course, the banking industry, like you and I discussed earlier, is booming.
Yes.
And I remember when I first moved here I moved here 15 years ago, and whenever I would pass here, it would be a ghost town. It would be quiet.
Yeah, Matthews doesn't have much of anything.
Yeah. And y'all have a white duck taco, which I frequented in Asheville when I lived there. And so it's good to know that that's here. But we are here at the Matthews Heritage Museum, which is a small museum here on Main Street.
Trade
is this
Street.
Trade Street?
It's our main street, but it is called Trade Street. Yes.
Trade Street. And Bob's going to give us a tour of not only this building, this home, but also some of the other things and areas in the community that makes it great. So where should we start, bro?
We'll start right here and talk about the house. Okay. So it's known as the Massey-Clark house. Only two families ever lived here, the Masseys and the Clarks. It was built in 1879 by a man named E.J. Funderburk. And as we walk through downtown Matthews, we'll look at some of the buildings that the Funderburks owned.
Okay.
So his original house was right across the street, and he built this house here wanting another doctor in town. So heard about Dr. Massey in Florida and had him move up here with his family.
And I see the Alexander family descendants. So obviously, if you're familiar with Mecklenburg County or this area, Alexanders are everywhere.
Yes, they are. So the Masseys lived here until about the 20s when the Clark family bought it from them.
Okay.
And then the Clark family had it until 1977. Okay. And then Jane Clark, the last Clark family member, sold it to the town of Matthews for $100, so nothing would happen to it. And it's still here.
Now, was this... I imagine that there wasn't like a museum prior to that.
Yeah. It was actually the Matthews Help Center, which does a lot of work in town. It's now over on Ames Street. And they were in this original location. It was kind of like our local food bank and Goodwill and free medical clinic all in one. A couple ladies from two different organizations wanted to start it, but they outgrew the space, so they moved over to a different location. And then our historical foundation bought it from the town in 2010.
Nice.
Renovated for about 3 years, and then opened the museum in 2013. So this June will be our 12th anniversary coming up.
Excellent. So let's see what you all have been able to collect in the community.
So we have got a lot. This is known as our Commerce Gallery, so all about commerce and how Matthews grew. So when the train came through in 1874, we were able to ship out our crops, which were mostly cotton, all around the state. So the train took us all the way to Wilmington on the coast and to Rutherfordton in the mountains.
Oh, wow.
So that helped us grow a lot. So cotton was the main cash crop. When we started doing so well, we needed a bank. So in 1909, the Bank of Matthews opened. And this is the original teller cage from the Bank of Matthews.
Oh, really? So where was it? Where was the bank at?
So it is near Sante. So that's where the restaurant right down the street, and Moxie Mercantile. The building's no longer there. When BB&T bought Bank of Matthews, they knocked down that end of the building and the livery stable, which the Funderburk family, there's the name again. The Funderburks had the livery stable, which is right over here. So. They knocked it down in the bank and then put in the building that's there now, which is Grace O'Malley's. So. But we have the entire teller cage, actually. Our Public Works has stored the rest of it and the safe doors. So we have the full thing if we ever get a bigger museum.
Just even looking and seeing how the evolution of banking.
Oh, yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Look at all that, yeah. and what we love to point out are these nice big ledger books where they would record everything. So, imagine having to go to the bank and write everything in.
And how old are these?
This would have been from 1900s, around 1910, 19.
I was about to say, don't say 1900s. I was born in the 1900s.
Early 1900s. Yeah, me too. Yeah. My kids love to point that out. Dad, what was it like back in the 1900s?
Right.
So, yeah.
Right.
Another thing we have in here is about communication of the town. So. We had a switchboard, when that, of course, came out. This is one of the iterations of the switchboard in town, which was run by two sisters, known as Mame and Joe were their nicknames. And they, of course, would listen in on everybody's phone calls and correct recipes that were being shared and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, and what is this?
That is a switchboard similar to what would have been around 1901 when they had a switchboard in their home. Not the original one that we had in town, but we do have the original 1942 Matthews phone book. One page right here.
Yeah, you hear that, kids? There were actually phone books during the time where you had to flip pages and you had to read.
Yeah, we love to show like the crank phone and the old rotary phone because nobody's used to those anymore. So
nope. Nope. Still remember our number from back in the early 80s.
And then the post office, the building up there, which was just recently Carolina Beer Temple, that building was built in 1939. First building built for the post office. Before then, the post office was just in other general stores and areas around town, even people's homes. But that was built for the post office, and that building is one of our National Historic Sites.
Okay, nice. So you have a couple of those on site.
This is, again, a lot of old stores. Matthews was a self-contained town. Like, we had everything we needed, from shoe shops. Bud Potts was an African-American gentleman who had a fish market right down the road, and he would get his fresh fish off the train from Wilmington. So he opened a fish market right there between the 30s and the 50s.
Yeah. And there's that name, Crestdale.
Yep, Crestdale. Yep, which we'll be talking about. Bigger's Furniture is in the Heath and Reed building, or what is now known as the Heath and Reed building, where Weaver, Bennett, and Bland law offices. So that was a furniture store that we had. We really had everything that we needed. And people would come here from Charlotte to get stuff too.
Wow.
Many general stores, barbershops, the stable, like we mentioned, which is no longer standing, but that was there, and everybody would board their horses there.
How long ago was it?
So that was actually here until 1978.
1978? Yeah. Oh, yes, it says right here, right before its demolition.
There was a big fight. People wanted to keep it, but
I can imagine. Some people like to have that good mix of old and new, but Charlotte has a habit of. We won't go into that, but
they do have a habit of that.
Shiny, bigger, and brighter is the motto in Charlotte to me.
This is our lifestyle gallery. It's all about schools and homes, and we have this set up like a typical parlor for kids to see because we do get a lot of field trips. The local elementary school actually walks here. They were just here last week doing their walking field trip about the community, second graders. So we showed them how, houses were without electricity and you had to have a potbelly stove to stay warm and things like that.
Now, North Carolina had the most Rosenwald schools in the country.
Yes.
Was there a Rosenwald school here?
There was a Rosenwald school. So Crestdale, our area of town, the African-American community, had a Rosenwald school that was built.
Okay.
And it was here until a fire destroyed it, unfortunately. But that is it right there, known as Matthews Colored School when it opened.
Yeah.
And then later it became known as Crestdale.
Oh, and there's a picture of it.
Yep.
Picture of the students as well.
It's amazing. We still have a Crestdale Middle School here to keep that name alive in town. So that is our local middle school in Matthews. And then our community center, what it is now in Matthews, was the old public high school built in 1907. So that is that building. It's changed a lot over the years, but the community center we have in town is where the Matthews High School was.
Do you feel that, because obviously you moved here younger.
Yeah, I was a kid, I went to Matthews.
What are the sentiments on preservation here in the small
I will say they've done a wonderful job. When the Matthews Historical Foundation was founded in '87, when we got the Reed House, that was given to us so that house would not be destroyed. And that's how we started. And then we've worked with the town. The town has a preservation committee. Obviously, our Historical Foundation is a nonprofit, so we do a lot of work with the town and the county. But we were able to preserve a lot of the commercial buildings where Renfro Hardware is, that we'll walk past later. Yep. There's 10 commercial buildings in that block that are preserved, National Historic Site, which is amazing. We also have Uten Pottery down the road, which was a local guy we'll see in the next room, and that's also a National Historic Site. So Matthew's done a good job about preserving, retrofitting things so we can still use the old buildings like this museum.
Yes.
When we took it over, we kind of took it back so it would look like a home again. Yeah. Which we're very proud
of. And it does.
The way it turned
feels
out.
Pretty comfortable.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Before we go to the next room, these are our changing exhibits. And I mentioned to you, this is all the train history that we've moved over recently. So when the train came through, like I said, in 1874, it changed our whole town because we were able to connect all across North Carolina. So we have several different versions of the way it looked from the 30s, 40s, and 50s. And it was passenger service until about 1955.
Okay.
So 13 trains would stop here a day and take people all over North Carolina.
It was just centric to North Carolina? Or
it ran from the coast through up to the mountains.
Okay. Oh, yeah, you did say Rutherford. Okay. Yep, says it right here. From Monroe to Rutherfordton.
And again, that depot was built in 1875, and the town saved it. It's been different businesses and restaurants actually before it got moved to where it is now by Town Hall. So that's been about 20 years, which is why we're renovating the inside now to give it a fresh look.
Yeah, and being that Matthews is growing, you'll I'm sure get more traffic to visit.
So this is our community room, all about places that the community would gather in the early days. So the drugstore was a main gathering place, like many towns. This is Doc Yandel, our pharmacist, DOC Doc. He was not a doctor. He was the pharmacist. They called him Doc. Yeah. And he and Dr. Reed, who was a doctor, opened the pharmacy. So Doc Yandel would use his mortar and pestle, which is right down there on the bottom, to make everyone's prescriptions.
There we go.
He was also known for his shaved Cokes. So he would get a block of ice and use a shaver like this and shave the ice down and put it in a glass and then pour the Coke over it. So and people would come all the way from Charlotte for one of it. So they knew all about it.
My sister and my niece, they love Sonic's shaved ice.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's just something about it being that
it's different,
and that texture that they like. It all melts and it makes it cold. So I'm cool.
Want a regular Coke.
Yeah.
And the building still stands where the drugstore was. It's now Zab's Place, which is a store down on the corner. And it has that corner door. It was a 2-story building, then another fire. All these wooden structures, fires would happen in town and would burn it. So, but the bottom floor that's still there now was the brick that they salvaged from the original drugstore. So, again, preservation, they saved it.
Well, there was definitely an upgrade in
and doctors, I would say, thank goodness.
Chairs, for sure, because that doesn't look very comfortable.
No,
for sure.
Where
were most of the, sorry to interrupt, but when we talk about the town and its history, or the founders, if you will, of the town, were they in Mecklenburg County originally, or were they transplants from other areas?
Some came transplants from different areas. I want to say it's a Funderburg, but maybe it's a Williamson. Came through after the war and, saw this area and was like, oh, I'm going to move my family here, But a lot were from the outer area and moved to Mecklenburg County. Moved to Matthews. We were originally founded around the early 1800s by settlers, which I forgot to mention. So this area was hunting grounds for the Waxhaw and Catawba Indians. They would come up, do their trading through here and hunting. And then settlers came in and we were known as Stump Town because they chopped down all the trees and they were just stumps. And then we became known as Fullwood because a man named John Miles Fullwood set up a stagecoach home, and he ran the stagecoach to deliver mail between Monroe and Charlotte. And that lasted for about 50 years until the train came through. And that's what got us to Matthews. So it brought even more people here.
Gotcha.
Cool. But we always had a lot of doctors.
I see.
Yeah, Crestdale had their own African-American doctor from Monroe who would come up to Crestdale and see everyone there. So
I see right here, house calls were part of the rural physician and bartering for doctor services was common. I wish we could do that today.
And so many different, I still hear, stories of people that grew up in Matthews with their, parents and grandparents who, remember Dr. Reed coming and their family would give him like a chicken or something for coming out to treat him.
Nothing wrong with that.
So Star's swimming pool was a giant swimming pool right on the edge of town. It was 140 yards. Barnum's the Star and a couple guys from town decided to, put in a swimming pool because it'd be nice for the community. And they dug it out. It was originally lined with wood, and then they would put sand from Lumberton on top of the wood. And it was pumped in from an aquifer under the ground. So
from Lumberton, North Carolina?
Yeah, from Lumberton, North Carolina is where they got the sand from, of all places.
Oh, yeah, and it says it right here. So Lumberton, North Carolina.
But it was so big. It had a swing set. It had a dance hall. This is an old Army flotation bridge that was in there. There was a zip line, all kinds of things. And it lasted until 1999. It had turned into a country club after the 70s. But it was here for a long, long time. And now there's some townhomes there. So didn't get to save that, but a lot of good stories about it.
No historical marker?
Yeah. Not yet. I am working on some historical markers. We had our first one in the hall, which I'll point out for the depot that's going to be going up soon.
Nice.
Talking about when it was built, but I'm working on some other things around the town. And then another thing we just started doing is a walking tour of the downtown Matthews area. So we're doing that the second Saturday of each month now.
Okay.
And then another one of my volunteers does the historic Matthews Cemetery tour. So that talks about a lot of the families we've seen in here, like Funderburgs, Reeds, Renfro. So kind of teaches them the history that way. And then, of course, we say, come to the museum to learn more.
Yeah. And you have a great farmer's market, too.
Oh, we do. Yeah, the farmer's market is
Saturdays
great.
and
Yes.
Sundays. Man,
the best one in the state for,
Yes.
I think, 3 years in a row, which is amazing.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. I will say, as we go and talk about Crestdale, Walter Seward grew up in Crestdale.
Okay.
And he actually became the road manager for Johnny Rivers.
Okay.
And then Harvey Boyd, another famous person locally, actually designed the Mecklenburg County seal. He grew up in Crestdale.
Oh, really?
As well. Yep. He was 19 years old when the county put out a contest for people to design the seal, and Harvey designed it, and that is still the seal that we use today.
Harvey designed the Mecklenburg County,
Sure
North
did.
Carolina seal.
At 19.
And he was out of Matthews.
Yep.
That's pretty dope.
Mm-hmm. And he would hitchhike his way to school because he wanted a good education to learn graphic design.
Wow. Does he have any descendants that are still in the area?
So he actually still lives here.
Oh,
this is his dad.
okay.
He actually looks a lot like his dad now, but he
Yeah.
lives in this little white house in Crestdale, right down the road.
That's what's up.
Yep.
I never heard of this.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Pretty amazing.
Yeah, that's why I do this stuff, man.
There's a lot of history to learn.
Yeah, and there's some more things
yep.
down here.
So Harvey's mom is right there. She had a beauty shop outside of their home.
Mm-hmm.
Viola. And there's, again, a picture of our Rosenwald school that we mentioned.
Yeah.
That was in Crestdale.
Yeah.
I mentioned my plaque earlier, so we can look at it quickly. So this is our first historic transportation marker that's going to be put up outside the depot. So I got this from a grant from the William Pomeroy Foundation last year.
Nice.
So it's going to be set right up in front.
When
so
are y'all
people
going to? When is it expected? For the...
Pretty soon, actually. Yeah. So we'll have a unveiling for it and everything, a community event to talk about it, which I'm excited about. So that depot, like I said, was built in 1875. So.
Are there any other historical markers in the area?
There's some little ones.
I haven't seen.
Yeah, there's smaller ones. So Renfro we'll see when we walk by that talks about the commercial district.
Okay.
But this is our first big one. So, I'm working on a couple more grants for these.
Good.
So more people can see them.
That's good, man. All right, so right now we're outside. You see the signage right here, where children experience and adults remember.
Mm-hmm.
And where are we headed next?
We're going to head up to Renfro.
Okay.
That dog filming.
Okay.
Big dog.
He's gonna come running. Hi, George.
Never a dull moment in downtown
not
Matthews.
There's a lot happening, yeah.
I see.
Matthews has grown a lot.
Clearly.
Just in the past 10, 20 years.
Do you have any concerns about how fast it's growing? Like being a local, if you will?
I do sometimes, but I will say our mayor and the commissioners do a great job of, working like the John Street project, which has been going on for a while. Like that was a big thing because the state wanted to make John Street, which runs right that way, a lot wider to let in more traffic, but we don't really want that. We want to have a smaller town.
Okay.
So we've been working with the state on that. Luckily, COVID kind of delayed everything. So and I was on a pedestrian safety committee to figure out things we can put in place. We own Trade Street, the town does, so we've been able to put in speed bumps, great crosswalks, flashing lights, so it makes it safe because we do want people to walk here. I mean, there's a lot to
it's
see
a very
and do.
walkable downtown.
Yeah, which
is it a social district as well?
Yes. Well, no, just little areas. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, Matthews has grown so much, and we want people to be able to enjoy it without crazy traffic going everywhere.
For sure.
So here's our railroad that went in 1874.
Yep.
Still active, just the freight now. Here's one of our oldest commercial buildings.
Okay.
So this is known as the Heath and Reed Building. We've got a little plaque on the ground right here about it, built in 1888.
And historically, so it was a general store.
Yeah, so they actually had a cotton gin in here. So there was a cotton gin in the back, and farmers could pull through, unload their cotton, and have it ginned. So this was one of the first. And again, here's our National Historic plaque. So as I said, the Matthews Commercial District has 10 buildings that were designated in 1996.
So it looks like they jumped on it pretty early.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, and I'm very, very fortunate that we did that. So that was like our precursor to the museum since we didn't open until 2013. Mm-hmm. And here's Renfro Hardware, which is now celebrating 125 years this year.
125 years.
Yep.
And a community garden here? Or is this
no, this is their greenhouse.
part of their
you can come
greenhouse?
Buy,
Okay.
Yeah. They have a farm in town, so you can buy produce. Peonies are a big flower they grow every year.
Yeah.
They just sold out for Mother's Day, but again, here's our historic plaque for the Renfro hardware store.
And I can smell it. It smells like an old building
It does.
right
yeah.
here.
If you walk in there and everything else, it's the old floors, and they have everything you need. You need to have a key made, they can do it. You need to get a random nut or something, they can find the right size that you need.
That's what's
and
up.
they also sell chicks almost every year. So my family have bought most of our chickens from here, from a tiny little chick, and now we raise our own backyard chickens and get fresh eggs. So
how does it feel being able to sustain this sense of history in this downtown, even with it growing? Like, does it initiate a sense of pride that the community is still holding on to the diversity as it relates to the past and the present?
Yeah, and I think for even like, although, I'm a longtime, almost life-term resident, but yeah, I think anybody just moving here, is proud of the history that we have here. Because like I said, so many people walk around and visit everything, sit out and have a nice glass of wine or a drink. So it's nice to just appreciate it all and see it and know that, the buildings have been here for a long time, but they're still in use.
Yeah.
They're not just, there goes a nice old car.
Yeah, I just saw it.
So yeah, I'm very proud of this town, and I love being able to be the director of the museum and share about my history, because I've seen it grow in just the 30 years I've been here. So.
Yeah. Now, were you always interested in history as a kid, or was that something that had to grow onto?
So what's funny is my son actually got me into it. My oldest son, who's now 17, during the summers, I have 4 kids, by the way. During the summers, we take our kids on little dates. So we get that one-on-one since there is 4. So I'd take a kid, my wife would take a kid, our grandparents would take another kid. So my son actually got me to go to the museum for the first time when it opened. And then we started visiting the historic cemetery and other little history sites around town. So, and then I became the director of the museum, which is amazing, and I love it. So now I get to share history. Now my son brings his high school friends there. They actually came in not too long ago, a big group of them. So I got to teach them about the history of the town.
Nice. And I see right here, they're doing things the old school way, y'all.
Oh, yeah.
Keys cut here, right? You go to Lowe's now, you don't get to talk to anybody.
No, it's
you
a
just
machine.
put it in there, machine. There's a weigher that's right there.
Yeah,
there's an old Coke sign right here. So you gotta love downtowns. Old downtowns.
Yes, a lot of old stuff here, which is great. Here's some more old tools. David, who owns Renfro now, loves old tools. So if I ever get any old tools donated to me, I bring them to him and let him see them first.
Yep, he knows what to do. There we go. Yeah, so this building always stands out when I'm down here because it just looks like it stood still. And
so what's interesting is this white building was originally on the other side of Renfro where we saw the greenhouse.
They moved it.
Yeah, they moved it. Like a lot of houses and buildings have been moved over the years. They would just roll it out on logs into the street and roll it to where it needed to go, which is just crazy to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was moved here later. It was originally the front part of it was the post office when it was on the other side. Then it got moved here. A house is actually connected to the back, which we can see from the farmer's market.
Okay.
And the Helms family had a little diner in here called Pop's Grill, and Mrs. Helms just had a little kitchen set up, and people would come and help themselves, and that's the home that they lived in that was connected to the diner. So.
And this is where the farmer's market is.
And this is where the farmer's market is.
Talked about
very, very popular
earlier. It seems like you all will be able to really construct your walking tours very efficiently because it's such a condensed space.
So our walking tours that we just started, they take about an hour and a half, and we start at Stumptown Park, since that history of the town, and move our way up this way and make a loop around Trade Street. So we're really enjoying doing it. One of my volunteers put that together, did all the research, and shares everything about the buildings that you pass.
Sweet.
So it's a lot of fun.
Good.
And this would have been the side of the drugstore, so. Which I wish I could have seen it as 2 stories, but it was gone before I moved to Matthews.
Okay. And that's on 100 North Trade.
Yep.
As you all see,
White Duck Taco right down the road.
Yeah, White Duck Taco, that's my spot. But as you all see, it's a lot of growth. It is booming here all throughout the day. There's not really a perfect
there's not a quiet time
to come out. Like, it's going to be this way pretty consistently.
And when the summer comes, it's going to be even busier. So,
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
but nice. I mean, there's plenty of parking around town. We've done great about that. Our town put in 2 new public parking lots. So one's right behind White Dog Taco, another one near me off of Matthews Street. So
Okay.
yeah.
Excellent. So the railroad now?
Yeah, let's head on up to the railroad. Let's check out the depot.
All right. How long have they been working on the depot?
So we just, I guess, it just closed around October. So we've been meeting about it for quite a few months and picking different design firms to kind of renovate the inside for us and make it more of a modern day visitor center. But we're still going to have the train history in here. So we'll still have our visitor center and museum sign, but it'll focus on the train.
And so obviously this is like where the benefit of growth comes in, is because obviously the more people that are here, the more taxes are able to be collected and monies that are funded towards projects like this.
Yeah. So tourism. Yeah. So our tourism fund, which, helps. The town divides it up between different organizations. So the museum gets some, so we can maintain that house, and I get paid for my part-time job. And then, the visitor center. So it'll be helping with that as well. And this will be great when we renovate the inside so people can see it again.
Nice.
Learn about the train history a little bit more, and about Matthews and everything we have to offer.
Do you all have any oral histories of people that may have taken the trains back in the day?
So our when we were building our museum, we did put out a little DVD, and we have a lot of old stories from longtime residents that share different things. So we've got those preserved, and I want to work on a second version because a lot of the people on that first DVD have now passed away. Yeah. So I want to get a lot of people that are still here now so we can get their stories captured and preserve them.
Okay.
We have our Seaboard caboose, which we can walk through.
Yeah.
Carolina Central Railway is what came through Matthews, and then Seaboard bought them. So that's why you see the name Seaboard everywhere.
Mm-hmm. How do we get up there, on this side?
Yeah, we can walk around.
All right, cool.
And we'll actually pass our first marker about the Crestdale Heritage Trail up here.
All right, cool.
So the Heritage Trail starts right up this path behind Town Hall. That'll take you all through Crestdale, past the churches, the community center, and learn about that area of town.
Now, is it still a predominantly African-American part of town?
I would say
is
it's
it
mixed,
more mixed now?
Yeah, it's mixed now.
Okay.
But as we said, Harvey, still lives there.
Yeah,
so here's our plaque about the depot.
All right. First train arrived in 1874.
That's right.
Forever bringing change to the community. Yeah, transportation tends to do that, that's for sure.
An interesting thing that I found out as I was working on the grant to get that transportation marker, there's a plaque inside the depot, and then the side also said it was built in the 1880s, but I was able to find out it was built in 1875, so that's why that plaque now has the new date on it.
Yeah.
Which is pretty neat.
Updated, for sure.
So here's our little caboose.
All right.
Very popular for kids
Kids,
and
I was
actually
about
people
to
of all
say.
ages. I love walking through it too. So.
Well, summertime is coming up, so the high schoolers are about to be out. Y'all have to watch it a little bit closer just because?
So we've got cameras, so we can,
right.
And the town opens and closes it, so it's not always open.
Okay.
It closes when Public Works closes it, in the afternoon.
All right, cool.
That Railway Express Agency sign is original to the depot, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And they did a great job when they renovated this entire building with the sliding doors to kind of show you what the depot would have looked like. So those would have opened so people could move, their freight, their cargo in and out. As we renovate the inside, the caboose is another feature that we're wanting to work on and kind of, put signs inside that tell you what, the brakeman would have used it for. And if you haven't been to Brakeman's Coffee, you should go there sometime. So if you're ever visiting Matthews,
got some good coffee.
They do. They have great coffee.
All right, and this is an original caboose.
Yeah,
right?
it's original caboose from Seaboard Airline.
Wow.
A lot of different things in here. They had, they would sit up here and be able to watch everything, do any paperwork at their desk.
That's what I learned here. I learned at the other railroad museum that I was telling you about. Rocky Mount. That's where I was at. Yeah, Rocky Mount. Was that this was where paperwork was done and things like that. I didn't know. I was just like, maybe there's just somebody that's up there watching it, making sure everything is copacetic. I didn't know that it was used as an office.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Yeah, different trainmen would do different jobs. Yeah, we have an old trainman's hat on our display.
And it would just be, so it would be 3 people in the caboose or 2 people?
Probably 2 or 3. Yeah,
Okay.
I think traditionally is what they'd have.
Nice. Yeah, I'm glad this was able to be preserved.
Oh
man.
yeah, me too. Yeah.
So are
Taking
there
all my kids
plans
in
to
here.
do some things in here too?
Yeah, so we don't know exactly what we want to do. Yeah, definitely put signs so people know, what different areas of this caboose would have been used for. We mentioned, other ideas about putting a little bit of train memorabilia in here in a case or something.
Yeah.
But as you can feel, it's a little warm, so
Yeah,
we'd have to put a vent in here.
Yeah.
So we'll see what we decide to do. But yeah, we will be renovating it.
So this is where they would sit.
Yeah, my kids have been in here all over the years.
Do they climb up top?
Climbing around, and seeing everything.
Got the stove, fireplace,
Yeah.
all in one.
Stay warm, yep.
All right, so right now we see the historical Crestdale, which is part of the Matthews Heritage Trail sign. Tell us about when this trail was initiated and why was it initiated?
So I'll say, I think it was last year it was finally dedicated, the Matthews Heritage Trail. They worked on it for a few years, kind of during COVID, all the research with all the markers that we'll see as you go through. But it's just to teach everybody about Tanktown, which became Crestdale, which was that, typical African-American community, one of the oldest in Mecklenburg County that was in Matthews, which is amazing that came because of the tank that was there to fill up for the trains.
They were very artistic with their choosing of words, right?
Yes.
Tanktown.
Tanktown, yeah. just like our Stumptown, very, really creative. But yeah, Dr. Gribble was the man who actually bought all the land and then sold it to different African-American families in Tanktown.
Okay.
And then, we had the Rosenwald School here, which unfortunately is no longer standing, but we have it marked where it approximately would have been. So this is the full map. I want to say it's about 1.5 miles that takes you through historic Crestdale.
Well, let's check some of it out.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Let's do it. Was there an official dedication for it?
Yes, they had the dedication for it. Maybe that was actually 2 years ago. I need to look back and see. But yeah, they had the official dedication right near Mount Moriah Church, which is in Crestdale.
Mm-hmm. Is that an AME church or?
Mount Moriah, is that a Baptist church? Larry Whitley, Pastor Larry Whitley. He was actually a commissioner for a year with the town, but he's the pastor of it, and it's just right around the corner.
Yeah.
This is the railroad marker, yeah.
Okay.
I've only walked this one time, unfortunately. I need to walk it even more, but.
Well, summertime's here, man.
I know. I want to do a walking tour through it, so I think that'd be fun.
And there's Massey.
Yep, there's Massey.
That's
he
the
moved
house
his family here on the train.
Yeah.
When we get there's our first historic Crestdale. So that's like your welcome marker, letting you know that you're in the area. Which I love having that one. And then there's one up here on Tanktown Road.
All right, cool. All right, so you said that this structure, this building right here, was a community center for the African American community here in Crestdale?
Crestdale's little community center that they had right here. Actually, Matthews Chapel. So now we're gonna have to erase since I'm wrong. Matthews Chapel.
This is Matthews Chapel.
Oh, but no, community center. That's what it became. So
okay,
yeah. Matthews Chapel Presbyterian Church, then the community center.
Okay, yeah, I see that. So this site served as both.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, it says it, Crestdale Community Center right there. And to your knowledge, and based on oral history and things like that, were race relations strained then? Were they, copacetic? What is it that you've gleaned from?
Yeah, so we have some stories on our DVD. Actually, Harvey's on there talking about segregation in Matthews. There was segregation since we were right here in the South.
Sure.
But I'll say with the stories that they've shared, some of the stores you had to, use the back door, or you couldn't sit at the soda fountain. But others you could just, go in with all the other customers and come in.
Okay.
Although this was predominantly African American, the whole area of Crestdale, there were. It was a slightly mixed. Dr. Gribble just sold, the land to whomever wanted to buy it over here. So a lot of railroad workers. So whether they were, white or black, lived here.
Yeah.
So this will go up to the Mount Moriah Church.
Okay.
And here's our.
Is that like the main church, Mount Moriah?
That's in this area now. Yeah.
See y'all come out here in Matthews. You're able to get history lesson, as well as able to burn some calories.
Yeah, that's right.
You know what I'm saying? It's not too hot today,
Yeah, yeah.
but
Come early in the morning. I'll say when
yeah.
it comes summer.
Here we go. All right, Tank Town.
Yeah, so here's life in Tank Town.
Life in Tank Town.
A lot of different stories.
Yeah. Charles Burke.
Yep.
Stilts. I see it. This is how kids had to entertain themselves. Had to think outside of the box.
Yep.
Sassafras roots. Yep. My great grandmother talked about those.
Creasy greens.
Yep. Creasy greens. Yep. All the staples. All the staples.
So this is Matthews does a lot with our local artists. So this entire mural was painted by local residents and volunteers as part of our heritage trail. This is kind of our bike lane.
Yeah.
So if we go all the way to that road, Mount Moriah is up on the left.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else that the museum or that the town is doing from a marketing or signage standpoint to continue amplifying the history?
Yeah, so we met with our communications director of the town, and we're going to be working on some different signages, like our wayfinding signs we have around town. We're going to work on some historical ones as well, because we do have historical plaques, kind of on the ground at a lot of different locations. So we want taller ones like we filmed in front of Renfro, so people can really see, and maybe stop and learn a little bit more. So we'll be working on that. We also talked, as we're doing the renovation of the depot, some kind of wayfinding to direct people from the depot to the museum to learn more. So, like I said, that'll be the train history, and then go here for the Matthews history. And then my actually background is marketing, so I do as much as I can to, give talks. A lot of the retirement communities. Matthews has a lot of retirement communities.
Yes, it does.
I try to go out to those and do talks. And the one right down the road, Matthews Glen, I'm now doing a driving tour with them. So they get one of their little buses with about 14 residents, and then I get on it and tell them about places around town. So we've done that twice now, and there's a long wait list, I've been told, so now we're doing it in June and July as well. Okay,
good. What is your message, and I like asking people this question, when we talk about the importance of preservation and history in itself, specifically when there are a lot of migration patterns that are coming into new places, how do you reel people in when you talk about the history here in Matthews?
A lot of, it starts right when they walk in the museum. We ask, where they're from, and it's interesting, no matter if it's somewhere in the, the States, or we get a lot of international visitors as well. I think we had, I'll have to look it up, we had like 11 different countries last year that people were visiting from, but it's fun to talk with them and hear, how their small town might connect to our small town, whether it's farming or, general stores or things like that. So just asking people where they're from, getting them to talk about themselves, and then sharing our history with them kind of just connects everybody and pulls us together. Matthews, we're big on community here. We would like to work together with different organizations, the museum does, and the town, to kind of just work together and spread the news. And that's what you have to do with history. To keep it alive, share all the stories from all different people so we can learn from each other.
Well, it took all different people to make it, right?
Yes, it did. Yeah, it definitely did.
Some people tend to forget that, but that's why things like this, things that you do, hopefully kind of level set some of that and brings things back to reality for sure.
Yeah.
So we're going back in.
Yeah,
Is that the end of our tour? I'll get some B-roll footage and everything. I always like to ask people to let people know how they can follow you. Where they can find you, the importance of visiting the sites.
We can walk around to the, I should have wheeled out my sign to have the bigger sign, but I can stand by that one.
The Great Dane is gone, y'all.
Yeah, George is gone, Is
that the dog's name?
I believe that's his name,
Yeah?
They're
so he's
kind
a
of
community
frequent
dog.
over here. I've seen him several times,
Okay.
And being a big dog, people stop him, so.
Most definitely. Most definitely. You don't see him all the time.
Yep. Yeah, so everything we're doing, I put on our website, MatthewsHeritageMuseum.org. We're also on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok, so I try to put things on there and keep everybody informed, whether it's events or special things that we're doing. The walking tours, as I said, will be the second Saturday of each month. Cemetery tour is probably around the third Saturday of the month. In the morning, since it's going to be summertime, we got to meet in the mornings for those. But that's on our website as well. So, and then, we're open Thursday through Saturday. Stop by and see us anytime.
Excellent. So listen, that is another episode, History Before Us, here in Matthews, North Carolina, here at the Matthews Heritage Museum with Bob Aycock. And listen, this has been great. This is why I love doing what it is that I do, to hopefully inform you about some underrepresented history. And, you know, because there's been so many migration patterns that have changed where a lot of people are coming back down south, right?
Yeah.
You know, at one point in time we were called country bumpkins and everything else, but now so many people are here, right? So if you're coming here, you got to get some of the local history, and this is a great place to do such. So listen, if you like this type of content, please subscribe and share. I will put the Matthews Heritage Museum information in the caption of this video. Peace and blessings.